Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dr. R Show. We'll be coming to your living rooms weekly to discuss various health topics with the help of medical experts in their respective fields. Meet my two very special assistants, Megan and Christina.
And I am so excited because today is leg day.
And then inhale as you lower back down.
They will be with me every week to give us tips on healthy eating and proper exercise.
Stretch and keep yourself hydrated.
So welcome to my show as we both learn together. Welcome to the Dr. R Show. On today's show, we're going to be speaking with Dr. Mitch Abrahams, a urologist, about the kidney stones, and kidney cancer. Dr. Abrahams, thank you for joining us on today's show.
Thank you for having me.
Could you tell us a little bit about your background? You're a urologist, and that's someone that does what?
Well, urologist is a doctor who specializes mostly in surgery and medical treatments for problems of the urinary tract and the genital tract. So we work on kidneys, we work on bladder problems, we work on genital problems, incontinence and cancer work for those organs that we cover.
And where did you go to medical school?
I went to medical school up north at Albany Medical College, 4 years of medical school, and then a 5-year residency at the same place after that. And then I did a year of fellowship training, University of California, San Francisco, where I learned how to do minimally invasive surgery, which is what I specialize in currently.
Why do we have kidneys? What do they do?
Well, the kidneys really do 3 important functions. The first thing is that they filter toxins. So as our body is making cells and getting rid of old cells, there's toxins that build up, and those have to be excreted, some by the liver, but a lot of them through the kidney. So excreting toxins is the number 1 function. Number 2 thing that the kidneys do is regulate how much water is in your body. So to make sure that you're not too low on water and dehydrated and not fluid overloaded, they regulate how much water is circulating around in the bloodstream and in the body tissues. And the third thing that the kidneys do is they make some hormones which help with some other remote factors in the physiology of the body.
And why do we have 2? They must be awfully important.
They are important. Obviously, you need kidneys to live, and if you don't have kidneys, then you need to have dialysis, which is a replacement for the functions of the kidneys. Why we have 2 is a very, very interesting question. There's not an exact theory, but most people say that symmetry is the reason why we have 2. For example, we have a left ear and a right ear, left arm and a right arm. So symmetry of animals and natural systems is very common, and that's one of the big reasons. The other thing is redundancy, so that you have more function, so that if each part of the kidney is not as efficient as we get older, we still have plenty extra to maintain us.
So the kidneys are filters. They filter the blood.
That's right.
And how much blood do they filter every day?
It's really amazing to think that it's thought that about 25% of your blood volume is in the kidneys at any 1 second. So that means 12.5% of your blood volume in each kidney at any point of time. And so when you do the calculation for the average sized human being, it's about 120 to 150 quarts of blood that are filtered throughout the entire day.
So 25% of your blood volume is in an organ that's the size of what? How big is your kidney?
Basically about the size of the palm of your fist.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it is pretty remarkable. It's a very high flow system, obviously.
And how much urine do the kidneys produce a day?
Most people, of course, it depends on how much you drink. Most people produce about 1 quart to 2 quarts of urine for 24 hours. That's pretty average.
And how do the kidneys do their job? What anatomically special about them?
Well, it's very interesting. Obviously, the mechanism is very, very intricate. So basically, the blood comes into the artery of the kidney, and through different branches, the blood vessels become smaller and smaller and smaller until they get to basically about 1 blood cell wide little tubules that are called capillaries. Okay? Right next to those capillaries are little tubules that carry the beginnings of the urine. And those 2 tubules run side by side. So what happens first is that the part of the capillary where the blood comes in has little openings in them. And all of the chemicals that need to come out go through those little openings, and they go into the fluid tubule, which is right next door. And then as those 2 pathways follow each other through the different parts of the kidney, the things that we need to keep in the blood go back into the bloodstream. So they do that either through little holes that go the other way, for example, proteins and things like that. And sometimes there's actually little microscopic little chemical pumps that pump different chemicals back into the bloodstream, and whatever's left over is in the urinary tract. So that's the part of the kidney where the urine is actually produced. The second part of the anatomy that's important is the urinary tract anatomy. So all of these millions and millions and millions of tubules that have the fluid in them come together in separate parts of the kidney called the calyces. And that's where all these tubules come together, almost like a whole bunch of highways coming together. They all feed into a very central part of the kidney called the kidney pelvis. And from there, they connect to a tube that goes from the kidney all the way down to behind and into the bladder, and that's how the urine gets down to the bladder. And then, of course, we have the lower urinary tract to get rid of the urine.
Now, what portion of the kidney produces the hormones, and what hormones does the kidney produce?
So there are separate cells in the meat of the kidney that produce the hormones. There's two main hormones that the kidneys are responsible for. The first one is called renin, and that is very important for regulating blood pressure and how much fluid we have in our body. Without that chemical, you would not have enough fluid, and obviously if you have too much, you'll retain fluid, and that can be problematic for your heart and lungs and things like that. The other hormone is erythropoietin, and that regulates how many red blood cells you have circulating around. So the red blood cells are made in the bone marrow, and erythropoietin is the chemical that tells them how much to make so that we're delivering oxygen to all the important parts of your body.
Now, what about the adrenal glands? Are they considered part of the kidney? Are they in the kidney capsule, or are they outside of it?
That's very interesting. The adrenal gland is a separate organ that sits on top of the kidneys. They're inside some of the connective tissues, but they're not exactly connected to the kidney in terms of urine flow or anything like that. The adrenal glands are small glands that make other types of hormones. There are some blood vessel connections that go to the adrenal and come from the adrenal that go through the kidneys, but really they're really just sitting next door.
And how big are the adrenal glands? Are they very, very small where it's hard to see during surgery?
That's right. The adrenal glands are very, very, very small. They're usually just a few millimeters thick and maybe at most about an inch in width. And they're flat organs, very similar in color to the other surrounding tissues. So they can be challenging to identify in kidney surgery.
So now, before we get to kidney stones, we need to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back.